Yeah, I'm good. How are you? We'll be able to drive up this tricky road now. Yeah. Oh, you know, awareness now is not tricky. Like, send all of what I want through. Oh, it's such yeah. Anyway.
So the question that you asked me about concept is it something that came up in the review question?
Yeah, it's straight from the review question.
Are they coming from Italy or? Because I guess.
Are they what?
Are they coming from Italy or from?
No, I don't know where they come from. It's just one of the questions. Don't worry about it.
Cool. No worries.
I'll get it good to you.
Yeah. Kieran.
Treble. Just one moment. It's on the treble. Page 232. some of them have got the shorter version taken down, so the first few lines are covered. So if you're able to release that, it's up on the screen now. I prostrate to the
Higher
eyes.
triple gem, thus they hear it once. Continue to create with that community class and creativity flowers. Without time, by one was observed increase in creation and recoveries of phenomena called the fire perception. Also at that time, the body stopping on step by looked upon very practices on action and beheld those fire energies also as compared nature. Dance in the house, where they will show each person based on one step and one step by higher elevation. How should there be some of the lineage trained who wishes to practice the activity of profound action? He said that in the voice of the Lord step by higher elevation. So this is the venerable child has a teacher. Shall cultivate some of the lineage of the Lord who wishes to practice the activity of profound action? To look upon life place correctly and create to harmony and fight against all sorts of energy from her nature. Harmless energy, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also real other than emptiness. In the same way, creating experimentation, compositional practice, and consciousness are empty. Share life without characteristic. And six, standards not without state, not efficient, not fulfilled. Share culture, therefore, need storage, not form, not feeling, no discrimination, no compositional practice, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no brain, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object, and no phenomenon. There is no eye element and soul not including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no ignorance and soul not including no aging, death, and knowledge into creation. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and God. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, no surrender. Shine culture, therefore, because there is no attainment. Bodhisattvas rely on the mind, action, and wisdom. The mind without obscuration, without fear, having completely passed beyond error and reached the end point of Nibbana. All the Buddhas as well in the three times also manifested completely awakened times of possible perfectly enlightenment. They reliance on the perfection. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of correct knowledge, and surpass the mantra of the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra of the pacifies all suffering should be known and truth is not false. The mantra of perfection is perfect. Time Shari Purta Bodhisattva Sabbath Train Perfection is in one path. Then Bhagavan raised in that concentration commanded the Bodhisattva Master Arya Abhidhamma fire saying, well said, none of the lineage is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of peace and justice with indicated, even in the dark as rituals. The Bhagavan giving us spoken the venerable Shari Purta Bodhisattva Master Arya Abhidhamma. Those surrounding it are taught in the noble approach on you, stories and Gandhara, and following the way of finding days that spoken by the confirmation. The tend to the lion face Dakini is different in the book to what's on the screen. I prostrate to the Dakini is in the three chakras and alive in the whole area of ease and space. Practitioner is like an
by the teachings of the truth,
truth. the inner and inwards. May all 80,000 obstacles be pacified, separate from problems and conditions to the heart. Yeah, all enjoyments being involved in the Dhamma, insufficiency of happiness, here and abroad.
Sangye Java Tsoki Chonama Chanchu Bari Dani Gyatsu Dagi Chenye Sonamji Rava Beji Sangye Java Tsoki Chonama Chanchu Bari Dani Gyatsu Dagi Chenye Sonamji Kangi Tuzinye Soni, Tawa Tunji Bodhichitta, Bodhichitta, Kadam Tela Changsi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, hot weather.
Good morning.
Hot weather.
Yeah, good morning, hot weather.
Bodhichitta, 그래가지고 참관도 말도 되게 참들이 아니 이제 장초 아니 같은 스푼딩 인자는 남아 그래서 서로 같이 모든 된지 등을 되게 아니 총각 됐다 되지 아니 먼저 전주적으로 됐다 너무 멋져 좋지 to levanza di sozumani kawasambu shutya tsigiyes e kazini and kolondoso and matavala ya and kolonchia tawaya kachu get to be and never change to kolonchi queens.
So today we celebrate the birthday, the 75th birthday of our Lama Sopa Rinpoche, who is kind to us in 3 ways. And also, as it happens, we're going to take upon ourselves today the Bodhisattva vow. So we have the combination of these 2, and how fortunate we are to be able to do that. So in order to be able to do that, first off, Geshe said that as much as he can, as much as he could today, he corrected his motivation. Of course, this is something that one does every day, but particularly today, Geshe tried to put more force and strength into correcting his motivation in order to conduct the ritual for taking upon himself the Bodhisattva vow.
Inza that it is something another and capture is a yobati and lama number 3 was Inza Nanzu kanji and chisig manu partu ani nonsoya lamde maninki lama givishinki kozishabe tengurati shoji gechimu chayoras.
So then Geshe said that at least when he looks at it from his personal perspective, then in terms of his trusting a certain object of refuge, having some hopes on or expectations from certain beings, well, he puts his trust in the Llamas. And that being the case, then so long as we're alive, so long as we're here, it's really important that we keep in mind those aspirations for the long life and best of health of our spiritual teachers, of our Llamas.
Tinzada lama kozishabe tengi tenshu yashudi ani lama tu nyeba yoyach jivichova pyutubana di yash resi ani kongkyo tambatu zubi chingmi nimi sungyorola ani chik doyu shon kandajil tebayina lama kozishabe tenga lama tu nyeba gyudi ani jivichova pyutiris.
And as such, when we think of the best long life wishes that we could make to the life of our spiritual teachers, the best one would be something that would make their mind be happy with us. If we please them, that would be the best long life salutations, you might say, that we can offer. And this is something that was stated before, first of all, by the great masters of the past, but not only by the great masters of the past, also when you look at the classical systems, the scriptures of sutras and mantras and so forth, the best offering that can be made is stated to be offering of practice, which means that which makes the mind or the heart of your Lama become really pleased with you.
Tanganzugi lama tukni uyonyachi chaw kharche tudu ti tolaya bedunchiya ti tolaya andu doda chigdichiya di be masiba ane nanglo ya tamsik tumbuchiya chambuchin dia di ane lama tukni bi gyu tochilaya drogiyores andu gedru nang tensulaya ane chik tamsik zamachi doda chigdichi lama tukni uyonyachi chaw kharche tudu ti tolanga shugyago di peki chimores 라 먼저 나무 많이 버지 자원이 디 아니 가주스 파지 아니 뇽 땅투야 까투야 돌아 배신 친구로도 디 라투니 비디오가 드무다스 그래서 디 친구들.
So then thinking of what pleases the mind of our Lamas, first of all, we think of what would make them become really pleased with us, and we make effort in making that happen. So then in terms of, for example, our community here, Geshe reckons that what pleases our Lamas is maintaining harmony between one another, having a common goal, working together, doing that in agreement with harmony is that which makes them be happy with us. Whereas if we turn against each other, if we are not harmonious, this is something that does not make them pleased, that does not make them happy. So then when we think of those things that do not make the mind of the Lamas be happy with us, be pleased with us, we need to reduce that. We need to prevent that. We want as much as we can to put a stop to that, because when we think about it, if we take those actions, participate in those activities, it's not going to make them happy.
lalab tamzi songoyadi lalab tamzi songoyadi ani pili kanji ta goshini tenduni juk muzu sonju phaki lamgi rimba lobi tsawdi ani sheni gi tamzi la ya ral yorsnachi ani dogi kongu yons tavares inza pili lalab sheni gi tamzi nyambaina tamnyam chagores telaya tobi yongdinchi miti julaya tobi yongdinchi sedne ki jao koreo maris tinza on the tolerance samsurchi pe massive kitchen bones.
We have samaya pledges, samaya bonds between ourselves and the masters, the spiritual teachers, which is said to be the very basis for all the good qualities that we are going to attain. So it's important as much as we can to guard the samayas, the pledges that we have between ourselves and the spiritual teachers. It is said that it is the very foundation, right from relying upon the spiritual teacher all the way up to the attainment of the state of union. It is the basis for accomplishing all the qualities of realization. So if we do see qualities of realizations, if we want to develop them in this life, it's really important that we, as much as we can, guard the samaya bonds, the pledges that we have between ourselves and the spiritual teachers. So it's important that we prevent them from declining, otherwise realizations will not be developed. So today, as we're going to take upon ourselves the Bodhisattva vow, Geshe is absolutely confident that this is what makes Lama Zopa Rinpoche happy. If Geshe would sign a declaration, did you say Abadit? Abadit, yeah, this one. Then Geshe is willing to put his name to that will definitely what makes Lama Zopa Rinpoche happy. So then when we speak of lamas like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, we sometimes speak about them as being Vajradhara, a Buddha in actuality, a real Buddha and so forth. And it's hard to know whether a certain person is a Buddha in actuality or not. But then Geshe says that he has no doubt in his heart that Lama Zopa Rinpoche, if not a Buddha, is definitely a Bodhisattva. Definitely. Geshe says that it's not just using flattery or kind of sweet-sounding way of speaking. Geshe has no doubt in his heart that Lama Zopa Rinpoche, at the very least, has reached the level of bodhisattvahood. Before coming here to Chimrezik Institute, and Geshe says that we can, since this is Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche's birthday, it's also good or okay to say a few words about Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So before coming here to Chimrezik Institute, Geshe spent a couple of months at the Root Institute at Bodh Gaya in India. And of those 2 months, 1 month was at the company of Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So he happened to be there, and Geshe used to daily see him, either have conversations, be invited to Geshe's residence, or to go with him for koras, for circumambulations around the Great Stupa. And Geshe says that it's really evident how Lama Zopa Rinpoche's attention is always on those that need some help, those that are impoverished, those that are in needy situation. If there's any request that is made to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he immediately creates contact. So he prays for others. He kind of initiate contacts for those who need help, those needy, and so forth. To the point where Geshe says that it's so constant that he himself cannot do it to the extent that Lama Zopa Rinpoche does. So this is Captain Lama Zopa Rinpoche's innate qualities. As, for example, they were going on round circumambulations. As for those of you who've been to Bodh Gaya, you know that there are packs of dogs roaming around. And as Lama Zopa Rinpoche has such a kind attitude, they always come around and walk around with Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And some of them could be a little bit fearsome or dirty. So then you try to kind of push them from one way, and they run around and come from the other side to Lama Zopa Rinpoche and just kind of go around with him around the stupa. He was going around the stupa reading Lama Tsongkhapa's, Tsongkhapa's essence of eloquence, distinguishing the provisional from the definitive. And as he was kind of walking and reading, he still paid attention to the road. And if there was any insect that was just about to be squashed, he immediately stopped while reading and said, "Hey, there's a bug over there, be careful, set it aside and remove it so that it does not die."
And the root layer, paving model, not the pavs layer, pavs good was. The movie watching can jump the layer, could do language tunes. Language tunes. 2 years ago, language tunes, and daily chick has it, but the gondol the chick that one may cause it. The much any watching chill of the layer, modern map parts and language the kid was alive. And she sang out the drama and she should the check it out. It shows of that.
When Geshe was there, before Lama Zopa Rinpoche arrived at the institute, everyone, of course, were preparing for Lama Zopa Rinpoche's arrival, and they were forming a lineup, waiting for Lama Zopa Rinpoche to greet him. So it took some time. They arranged an elephant at the entrance to the Root Institute. So they brought in an elephant, and also there were quite a few dogs, the stray dogs that happened to be there at the time. So everyone were waiting in line, lining up for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. He arrived at the Root Institute, saw the elephants and the dogs. So the car stopped. He came out and spent about half an hour just doing recitations for the sake of the elephant, the dogs, and so forth, while everyone were still waiting.
But did it be touch Nyamtalaya and Chikundrotolaya, Sidang and Vindigious? That did my be Chidang Nyamtabi, and me, so that Karkanangi me, and Chige Kalafon, Kandazumi, and count to most zeros. And how doing the chick, Tembaraya, Kajusi, and two good chimbu you made me, and Dansa Kalaya, ages Chivano, finish the Hakovs.
So of course he does that for the sake of those who are in a needy or poor situation, but he also of course does many other things for the sake of others. And we know, Geshe says that he doesn't need to tell us what Lama Zopa Rinpoche does, it in centers all around the world. So we know what Lama Zopa Rinpoche does, and also in his taking care of the great monasteries is highly respected in the monasteries in South India. If you were to visit those monasteries and speak about Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you would see how everyone has such a great respect and admiration to Lama Zopa Rinpoche.
And Jansa Koran Pugores. Mancheg in a Lama Gish, Mancheg. So Zug Zayolama doing Chikwados, yeah. 아니 냠도 대사 알아봐야 상가도 양이 빼만 버렸어. 근데 너무 소그런 거지. 양자랑 피치 또 저기요거든요. 다 장무시에오라. 무슨 제마도 미망도 된다고 됐어.
It pays so much consideration. It's so important the way to rely on the spiritual teacher, to the point in which even if he was walking somewhere and he came across one of his spiritual teachers, he would immediately, wherever he is, offer full body prostration to that Lama. So Geshe hasn't seen that happening, but he heard that from others. So that's quite different to the way that other people might do it. So for example, if you're hanging out with your Geshe friends and you happen to come across a spiritual teacher, then everyone would come together and show their respect together in a certain way. But Lama Sovereign Rinpoche always go out of its way, in an utmost respectful way, and offer full body prostration wherever he is when he encounters his spiritual teachers.
인자다 that Lama women such social being 나랑 좀 대박 방망기 좁아이나 Lama women yes amma lower town in 말이지. 이제 인지질이야 안치 대박방 샤투야디 다 체리디 다 아니 깨와 mambu기 사샤디 손은 저기저기 먼저 가오공고야디 기침으로서.
So then for us, it's really important to, as much as we can, to train in faith and developing pure appearances with respect to spiritual teachers. If we do that, there would be no impediments for us that we will encounter in the future. It's so important to do that because that's a way of amassing the collections, amassing merit in this life.
이랬다 디디스레스다 내가 인구적으로 지금 감유도 가오라서라 이 rumchi 제가 남들 거야 이 공다이는데 이건도 말아 때 이것도 가오레스.
Anyway, we'll still get to speak of Lama Sovereign Rinpoche's birthday because we also have a birthday celebration this afternoon. So we will hear about Lama Sovereign Rinpoche's activities and stories. So that's still waiting. Let's get to the Bodhisattva vow.
이 땅에 들이 전주선들 너무 모셔체비 고추에 있으라 이 땅에 전주선들 너무 모셔 우리 초가리 떠로 친구자 아니 같이 나랑기 뭐니 상로 당당지어서 가서 이만 나라에 니버칸 요마르니야 니버칸 요마르 한다 아니 루치도이나 나페 마시버 투지치위스 태양아랑이 아니 가오성 슈이팅 상도스 여름치고 있나야 가진가 롱고들이야 다름스는 제소 왜 엔차 주주진 잠바고 주주진 나야 투지치면 나서스 나랑 개rum치도 지면 오늘 타니기 그런기 아니 샤단 치기기 아니 보나시 치나 아니 자치 치기스 이지기 니은이 뒤따도 니은이 아니 라마기비신이라 야지 이게 두고다 만삼바지다 진리지 니메스나로야 자원이 체메스 요 체메스 이지 전주에 랑람에 간지 아니 쇼제 까봉알이야 강강성이 로종 지체인 이 단다들이야 샘팀 대바다 이치 지 니시 땅땅장이면이야 안지 강강성 지했어라 yes.
So we enjoy different spiritual teachers. Geshe says that at least when he thinks of spiritual teachers that he has encountered and how they treated him with a great sense of care and affection, then Lama Sovereign Rinpoche have been treating Geshe with a lot of consideration, a lot of affection. Geshe also had a chance to meet his Honor Siddha Lama, and during that meeting also he was holding his hand and touching his forehead to Geshe's forehead, also treating him with a great sense of affection. And needless to say that also Geshe's own teacher, his root teacher, treated him so well, like a parent would treat their child. So then Geshe says that thinking of that great sense of consideration and affection that his teachers have been showering on him, then in his life, he's trying as much as possible not to act in a way that would be distressing to them, or that would be not appealing or displeasing to them. Things that he hasn't done anything in his life that will fall into that category of something that the Lamas would be totally displeased with. And it's really important, Geshe feels, to do that. And he does that through training in faith and recollecting the good qualities of the teacher, and trying as much as possible to make sure that your pledges towards those teachers remain as pure as possible. So Geshe has been trying to do that, and it's good to share it in this occasion. And it's also really important for us to make sure as much as we can that we also behave in a way that is involved with developing faith and trust, and keeping the pledges that we have between ourselves and the spiritual teachers to be as clear and pure as possible. So then trying as much as possible also to put into practice Bodhicitta and also compassion, and still not having reached a high level of them. So Geshe says I cannot really pride himself of being like a true practitioner of compassion and Bodhicitta. Still, what he's trying as much as possible to make sure is that he does not behave in a way that is ill-mannered or rude in relation to others. At least, sometimes, it might happen that you have a more heated argument with another person, but in terms of Geshe's motivation, he never had that motivation seeking to retaliate, to take revenge, or to set someone straight, even though, sometimes when you have conversations with others, sometimes you have to be more forceful. So still, Geshe says that making sure that the attitude and motivation is done right without that ill-mannered approach, Geshe said that at least is something that is taken to heart and trying as much as possible to practice. And of course, Geshe has people that he knows, people that know him. Sometimes they ask him for different things. And although he doesn't have the ability to benefit them in a very profound way, still he tries as much as possible to benefit and to help them in a way that accords with their request. Or at least Geshe says that if he doesn't have the ability to help them to a great extent, at least tries as much as possible to refrain from harming them.
제 통해 지금 뒤에 전주선들이 동봉보초 휴지 아니 전주선이 돌아야 노종 제바이나 hendo용 거로 왔어. hen도 책으로 왔어.
Anyway, today we meet here in order to take upon ourselves the Bodhisattva vow. So we participate in that ritual for the Bodhisattva vow. The essence of that is indicated by the verse that we often recite. May the precious body mind not yet born arise and grow. May that one have not inclined, but increased more and more. So this is a verse that we often recite for dedicating for the development of bodhicitta. We might sometimes forget to recite it, but even if that happens every once in a while, still it's something that informs the very basis, the very core of our practice. And as such, when we think of wishing for the mind of enlightenment to first of all arise in our mind, to be maintained, to not diminish, but to increase more and more, there are two ways of doing that. There are two ways of taking upon ourselves the Bodhisattva vow. You can take it from a basis, which means that if there is no master that is present, if you're not taking it from a master, you can take it from a certain basis. That's one way. The second way is to take it from a master. Of these two ways of taking the Bodhisattva vow, from a master or from a basis, Geshe feels that there is a greater profit when you take it from a master. When you take it from a master, you're taking it from someone that gives you an explanation of the benefits of the mind of enlightenment, some explanation of the way to engender the mind of enlightenment. So as such, when it comes together with an explanation and the benefits of bodhicitta and the training and so forth, in some sense, it carries a greater weight in the sense that there is more gain for you to do it in this way. So of these two ways, Geshe prefers the taking it from a master, and this is what we're going to do today.
semgi chogu sunu chigdang ani chanju semita domba musne ani ni yores teza tambo nganzu ani semgi chogu sunu ani chogadi tengi isra.
So as for the actual ritual for taking upon ourselves the Bodhisattva vow, there are two parts to this ritual. First of all, we embrace bodhicitta. Then, having embraced bodhicitta, we take upon ourselves the Bodhisattva vow, the engaging vow. This is the process that Geshe will follow, right? So first of all, we're going to look at embracing bodhicitta, that's the aspiring bodhicitta, and then taking upon ourselves the engaging vow, the engaging bodhicitta.
Tachidan kulum chutula soba mamuchi yongo de tanandu tujung ton tekanandu kanji chanji semgi chogu sumadi semtinita ani devayoba ra devayoba janjang ta jasi kyada majuwas tinza and di tuwachina disaris ani tangandu semgi chogu sumadi chogat mapteondi ani tanda khardu ani semgi chogu sumadi ani to the Kenyan member and ya shanchini and chansumji sena yagundos and ima should hang in the imana para should then what difference.
Now, as for correcting our motivation at the beginning of this process, there are quite a few things that can be said with respect to engendering a motivation to do that, but we came here today particularly in order to take upon ourselves the mind of enlightenment and the Bodhisattva vow. So in terms of the motivation to do that, we've already corrected our motivation. So there's no need to really speak about it at length. Also, Geshe is taking for granted that we want to do that, right? So he doesn't have to ask us if we want to do that, to check it out. We came here particularly in order to do that. So let's assume that we're here because we want to do it. Now, it could be that there are people here that have taken the vow before or have taken mind generation before, it could be that there are people here that are doing it for the first time. So if you're doing it for the first time, Geshe is asking you to stand up and offer 3 prostrations. If you've already done it before, you don't have to do this part. But if this is the first time that you're doing it, then please first off make 3 prostrations.
저는 이 초가디 초가디만 이제 지단기 독시 로이다 독 나와야 아니 차스인세 아니 레전드 코라스게 아니 소스인세 뭐니게 로단 데리즈라다디 아니 티티니 제만 남들 디노스디 치츠나 상데스라 이야보다다
So Geshe is following this manual for doing that. We have here a book that with the ritual itself. But Geshe also has been reading different sutras, and in the sutras there is an indication of the way that it was done originally. So he said that originally also the students used to rise up and then do a circumambulation again around the master a few times. So we're not going to do it now, but Geshe thought that now, since this is the way that it was done originally, maybe we can reinstate that tradition later on, where we're taking a vow or we're going through a certain ritual, then also going around a spiritual teacher. Could something that be done in conjunction with the way that it was done in the sutras, as indicated by the sutras? 숨성이 딜라데 점도 수들 렌즈기 초가데 I'm also sorry.
And child does shuna yagondos.
So if you could sit with putting your palms together, that's good. So Geshe is going to do the way that this ritual works is normally you would repeat after the master the recitation of, first of all, the taking of the mind of enlightenment, embracing the mind of enlightenment, and then taking the Bodhisattva vow. Since the recitation are done in Tibetan, but Geshe wants us to understand what we're reciting, Geshe is going to do his thing in Tibetan, and we're going to recite it in English. So I've translated the wording of this ritual into English. What I'll do is I'll read bit by bit, and we'll repeat them together.
Sengi, that general cheese there. So that the Kansas does and changing Yolaya and changes in Chuma Imaginella, Mishalaya, Chairman, same thing touching Devayovenza and Twitter touching Kanji and Lo Chudu Sajini, Lo Chudu Sajini. And it's sang chip, humble shoot and it's understanding that don't so yours, that they need changing the kanji and Tandata and long up to Nachi Malay Badu, it always some of the time and this chick. Do you get this? Let me see you get this.
So first off, as we're going to go through the ritual of taking upon ourselves aspiring Bodhicitta, we need to make supplications to the master, requesting the master to give to go through the ritual of mind generation. So it's a bit awkward, Geshe says, because when you think of requesting this ritual to be done, requesting for the mind of enlightenment, Geshe feels awkward to do it because he doesn't even have uncontrolled Bodhicitta. Not having uncontrolled Bodhicitta, it's a bit weird to still lead this ritual. But still, Geshe says that since this is what we came here today to do, and this is what we're requesting for Geshe, we're going to go ahead with that. Also, Geshe said that when he was around 16 years old, when he attained teachings of the second mantra for the first time, they came together with the Bodhisattva vow. So he took it when he was around 16 years old, and he's now in his 50s, right? So 50, around 51. So at least for all those years, he still attempting, trying as much as possible to build up the practice of Bodhicitta. So let's make this request together. So I'll recite part of the lines, and you guys will repeat after me. So Master, please consider my request. Just like the Tathagatas of the past, the Arhats, the complete and perfect Buddhas, and the Mahabodhisattvas abiding on the great grounds, have first developed the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment. So am I, and say your name, requesting the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment from you, Master. So we're going to do it twice more. For the second time, again, please repeat after me. Master, please consider my request. Just like the Tathagatas of the past, the Arhats, the complete and perfect Buddhas, and the Mahabodhisattvas abiding on the great grounds, have first developed the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment. So am I, and say your name, requesting the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment from you, Master. Master, please consider my request. Just like the Tathagatas of the past, the Arhats, the complete and perfect Buddhas, and the Mahabodhisattvas abiding on the great grounds, have first developed the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment. So am I, and say your name, requesting the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment from you, Master. Now, having made the supplications, the request to receive the generated mind today, we're first off going to develop refuge. We're going to go for refuge. Going for refuge is the preliminary for taking up Bodhicitta. So in going for refuge, there is the going for refuge in general, but particularly here, as we're taking upon ourselves the Bodhisattva vow, we're going to go for refuge to the Mahayana refuges. So we have the three objects of refuge, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And when we particularly go for refuge to the Mahayana refuges, the Dhamma that we go for refuge to is the Mahayana Dhamma. And the Sangha that we take refuge in is the Mahayana Sangha.
대다 딱 내는 공수 세대 아니 배변 그냥 대바 친구가 최대 하드인도 같이 정신생비가 아니 초가지니 딘디지 세미야 요거에 기침을 해봤어.
And as we then do the repetition for going for refuge, we again asking the master to consider our request, and we of course relate to that master, consider that master to be a master that explains the Mahayana Dhamma to us, and particularly the one that is leading the right for taking up the Bodhisattva vow.
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 간이는 쪽 산이 좀 되는 나는 되었죠.
Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on, and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, I'm going for refuge to the Buddhas, the Bhagavans, the supreme amongst humans.
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 전함의 쪽 시원도 저들 대화는 되었죠.
Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, I'm going for refuge to the supreme amongst the Dhammas, the state of peace, free from desirous attachment.
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 전함의 쪽 바바 전주섬의 친구들이 창조의 모든 지기와 전함의 쪽 바바 전주섬의 친구들이 견뎌나는 되었죠.
Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, I'm going for refuge to the supreme of the communities, the community of the Sangha of irreversible Arya Bodhisattvas.
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 간이는 쪽 산이 좀 되는 나는 되었죠.
So we're going to do it twice more. So for the second time, please repeat after me. Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, and going for refuge to the Buddhas, the Bhagavans, the supreme amongst humans,
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 전함의 쪽 시원도 저들 대화는 되었죠.
Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on until we reach the heart of enlightenment, and going for refuge to the supreme amongst the Dhammas, the state of peace free from desirous attachment.
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 전함의 쪽 바바 전주섬의 친구들이 창조의 모든 지기와 전함의 쪽 바바 전주섬의 친구들이 견뎌나는 되었죠.
Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, and going for refuge to the supreme of the communities, the community of the Sangha of irreversible Arya Bodhisattvas.
레벨 공수도 다음인데 시기와 튼튼히 공부 지지 창조의 모든 지기와 간이는 쪽 산이 좀 되는 나는 되었죠.
Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name. From this time on until I reach the heart of enlightenment, and going for refuge to the Buddhas, the Bhagavans, the supreme amongst humans,
레벨 공수도라 다음에 시기와 준비는 좀 있어서 전진이 뭐는 시기와 저놈이 저 시원 배서도 저만은 될수
Master, please consider my request. I and say your name. From this time on until I reach the heart of enlightenment. And going for refuge to the supreme amongst the Llamas. The state of peace, free from desirous attachment.
레벨 공수도라 다음에 시기와 준비는 좀 있어서 전진이 뭐는 시기와 저놈이 저 아버 전진 좀 친구들 전진이 뭐는 시기와 저놈이 저 아버 전진 좀 친구들 위에는 너무 될수
Master, please consider my request. I and say your name. From this time on until I reach the heart of enlightenment. I'm going for refuge to the supreme of the communities. The community of Sangha of irreversible Arya Bodhisattvas.
다디 겸로 온도 손 토니 다시 돌아다보다 겸로 온도 손 토니 아니 무시 아니 생기 담작 손세티 라 디차고레스 다 same thing 아니 전주적으로 생기 양비리 dumashul chimbuch tangules 라
So we have first of all made requests for the generated mind, for Bodhicitta. Then we have gone for refuge. As we have done those two preliminary parts, we're now going to go into the actual right for aspiring Bodhicitta, which means that here we're going to make a promise. We're going to make a pledge. And the pledge that we are making is to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So here you need to have strong intentionality to do that. So make sure that as we are going to go through the ritual of aspiring Bodhicitta, that you do have the strong aspiration to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
다 same get big tanje shadam dia ang anju samal devan devaton doma munde ba mid samay ba jo rituti chigbi ba inaya deva divi yorda deva thogu yamare doma divi yamanda doma bashi yon der and di kares laun di tawadi chadam also tuchi mashi biwangi and chabaki and shebanki and lengi basa to chinta sanjatan to come de divan that di and chi call troll ya and lamdin chan na thi kanjin dor dena lamdin chan na thi and tamkila tuji chimdi and sanji chomde dinya chi chagenza and simjian na call to chedu and ngombo zo sanji magin tabun samach and simjian tamji chedu ngi yanda bo sanji komba chen ya thoba chagi yambi and tamja shayad res same case and tamja shayad res.
And in making that pledge, we first of all recognize that all sentient beings are equal in wanting to be happy and not wanting to experience suffering. Not just human beings, but all sentient beings, all living beings of the 6 realms of existence have the same basic wish to be happy and not to experience suffering. And even though we want to be happy and we do not want to experience suffering, still we end up experiencing unsought suffering, and we do not get the happiness that we seek, to the point in which it seems that our soul experience is an experience of suffering. So for the sake of leading away ourselves and other sentient beings from this samsaric existence, we think that we end up in this samsaric existence because first off, we are controlled by anger, attachment, and ignorance. Because of ignorance, attachment is developed in our mind. And when that occurs on the basis of attachment, we get angry with some other living beings. We create actions that keep us going in circles again and again in samsara. So for the sake of finding the path or following the path that is moving away from this samsaric state, we think that the person that has shown the way, revealed the way to break free from samsara is the Buddha that had such great kindness to us, has shown a great kindness, has great skillful means. In that sense, the Buddha is the only person that has shown the way to break free from this samsaric existence. And as we consider that ourselves and all other living beings want to be happy, and no living being wants to suffer, and yet we don't find what we wish for, the only way for us to free other sentient beings from suffering would be for ourselves to attain the state of enlightenment. So in recognizing that, we then think with this certain commitment that we make, with a pledge or promise that we make, I will become a Buddha, I will attain the state of enlightenment in order to free sentient beings from suffering. Since this is so important to make that promise, that pledge to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, first off, it'd be good if we spend a brief time together, some short time together in our mind, cementing that pledge to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So please do a few minutes meditation on Bodhicitta, on that promise to attain the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings.
도지치 네 아주 가성으로 와서라 냠도 위에 세계 가시 있네야 아니 잠시선 돌아야 아니 성단 초에디 고급 여버디 아니 가성비 삼성 성단만 야부도 있어.
Thank you for that. We're so fortunate to be able to spend even a few seconds together here meditating on Bodhicitta. Even if it's just for a few seconds, we're still so lucky to be able to do so. Otherwise, when we think of the passage of life, our life is coming to an end so quickly. Might be a strange thing to think about, but it is the case, isn't it? Our life is exhausted so quickly. At least Geshe says that when he thinks about it in relation to himself, the time between 2006 and this year, 2020, has gone by so quickly.
아니 쇼딩 나와나 가까이야 주진이 soms마도 아니 니에 뒤쯤내고 빼먹고 샤르거스 뒤쯤 다운이 아니 뒤뒤 가서 다지 뒤뒤 끼우지에요래 아니 뒤뒤 가우지에요래서 아니 그 제려야 답이 노존시 먹고디 아니 주도 주도인 니기여라 니에 뒤뒤 여보실 간지 여보실 조야 날 소아지 예스라.
So since that time has gone by so quickly, and Geshe thinks of the things that he was able to do or to accomplish in during those years, he hasn't done that much. Particularly when he compares it to how his life used to be before that. Still studying to his Geshe degree in the monastery, where you have to follow a really strict schedule. You wake up early morning, you take classes, you go to debate sessions, and all those different activities take you to the late night. And sometimes you get only a couple of hours sleep at night, and it's day in and day out. So it is a hard schedule to follow, but Geshe also reflects upon the time, and he recognized that that was indeed a happy time of his life. So there is happiness despite the hardships that is involved with that. So now, of course, it's different. Rather than sometimes getting only 2 hours sleep at night, Geshe says that usually it's, let's say, 6 or 7 hours at night, and time goes so quickly.
Tilda is mushidi lois then we have jindin chirochi jindin chion digi kanji kon shiva nashin kita chin bordu jing tone and sem teaching the can no ya shine the pinju ding mabu yoras and sem teaching what then the years teaching sadi esadi and chanju sem tole ya tero chisra.
Let's look at the actual rite for aspiring Bodhichitta. So again, when we're going to do the recitation for the actual rite for aspiring Bodhichitta, make sure that your mind is focused. There are many of you that are doing shamatha practices, calm abiding practices, in which you develop single pointedness of mind. So it is likely that many of you have already reached a good level of single pointedness. So use it here also. Make sure that your mind is single pointed on Bodhicitta. So please repeat after me. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas residing in 10 directions and Master, please consider my request. I, and say your name, So I, and say your name, using the roots of virtues I've created in this life and in other lives as well, that are in the nature of generosity, in the nature of ethics, and in the nature of meditation, created by me or have made others commit, and the ones I have rejoiced in, just like the Tathagatas of the past, the Arhats, the complete and perfect Buddhas, and the Mahabodhisattvas abiding on the great grounds, have first developed the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment. So do I, and say your name. From this time on and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, Develop the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment.
Simje Madravanam Tavargiu.
I will deliver those not delivered.
Madravanam Tavargiu.
I will liberate those not liberated.
U Machimanam Uyuakiu.
I will give breath to those unable to breathe.
Yonsu Nyangan Mandevanam, Yonsu Nyangan Devakiu.
And will place all beings in a state beyond sorrow.
That's a new image in the Martian. Show generation is Sanjay the Changes and Billion Consul.
So we're going to do this repetition twice more. So for the second time, please repeat after me. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas residing in the 10 directions and Master, please consider my request.
Damen the Shigi, Yavan the Kevashan, the Santa, the Jimmy Ransom, the Chudungi Ransom, the Kongi Ransom, the units of time to give up the Jet of the Yavan, the Jit, and the units of the Chedamungi disease of Raja Mayanda was the Sanjay number, such a model should be changed. Chamber on the Lana Mayanda was the change to Kevin the
I, and say your name. Using the roots of virtues I've created in this life and in other lives as well. That are in the nature of generosity, in the nature of ethics, and in the nature of meditation, created by me or have made others commit, and the ones I have rejoiced in, just like the Tathagatas of the past, the Arhats, the complete and perfect Buddhas, and the Mahabodhisattvas abiding in the great grounds have first developed the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment.
Damen the Shigi Yang, Tundinus of the Chizu Changiman and Chiki Patana Muyanda was the Chanju Chimbola, same cable Q.
So do I, and say your name. From this time on and until I reach the heart of enlightenment, develop the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment.
Simje Madavan Tavargiu.
I will deliver those not delivered. I will liberate those not liberated. I will give breath to those unable to breathe. I will place all beings in a state beyond sorrow. The nibadi, and the sumba. No, and the sumba.
Okay. Children Sanjay did that. Then soon be Tama, you also young in the Mandevan. Young in the huge 60 over the young, and so regular, and it changes in this young baby. Never check where the kitchen is.
So we will do this repetition once more. Well, we'll finish this recitation. We will say, and we'll place all beings in the state beyond sorrow. That marks the end of the recitation. So when we say that, then you have to think strongly that the mind of enlightenment now is born in your mind, that you have taken upon yourself Bodhicitta. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas residing in 10 directions and Master, please consider my request.
Damen the Shigi, given the Kevashan, the Santa, the Jimmy Ransom, the Chudungi Ransom, the Kongi Ransom, to give it our target, give it our technology, give it our tea. Chedamungi disease of Raja Mayanda was the Sanjay and the Sajamala Refuge, which is a Chiman. Lana Mayanda was the region, to give them the patient door.
I, and say your name. Using the roots of virtues I've created in this life and in other lives as well. That are in the nature of generosity, in the nature of ethics, and in the nature of meditation, created by me or made others commit, and the ones I have rejoiced in, just like the Tathagatas of the past, the Arhats, the complete and perfect Buddhas, and the Mahabodhisattvas abiding on the great grounds, have first developed the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment.
다음에 시기에 대한 존재는 좀 주세 찬준이 뭐가 지키고 나남에가 양다고 그러고 찬주 첨보다 생계를 키워.
So do I, and say your name. From this time on until I reach the heart of enlightenment, develop the mind of complete and perfect enlightenment.
선제 마다와 농창을 키워.
I will deliver those not delivered.
마다와 농창을 키워.
I will liberate those not liberated.
꼭 마지막은 의용을 키워.
I will give breath to those unable to breathe.
용수 양을 만대바 용 양을 인다고 키워.
And will place all beings in a state beyond sorrow. So, have you developed the mind? Has it been generated in your mind? Mark, it seems that you have generated bodhicitta. So let's do the dedication verse together. So the first, and we're gonna repeat after Geshe doing that. So you recited the first line, Chantu Central Rinpoche. Please say that as well. Central Rinpoche, Magye Panam Geyuchi, Gyevan Yamba Mepa, Gone Gondo Pewa. Chanchu Central Rinpoche, Magye Panam Geyuchi, Gyevan Yamba Mepa, Gone Gondo Pewa. Chanchu Central Rinpoche, Magye Panam Geyuchi, Gyevan Yamba Mepa, Gone Gondo Pewa. Sendila Jordan Madena Kansan. That's all.
Yeah. And the other Semji Chover Songati and Chobachis.
So we have completed the ritual for taking upon ourselves mind generation, the mind of enlightenment, Bodhicitta.
And in that big and Tamadali and the level soon be paddling and six rocks is level soon be paddling. So down coach come and
section number you. Okay.
And do that, and every miss one level to getting Sangiris with this Sangis is like those instruments.
So Shantideva explains the way to engender bodhicitta in the third chapter of his Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life. So having taken aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta in this chapter, he then explains or teaches some verses. So verse number 26, and let's say it together, let's read it together, says, "Now my life is fruitful. I have attained a good human existence. Today I have been born in the Buddha's lineage and I have become a child of the Buddha." Now whatever happens, I will act to not sully this flawless holy Buddha lineage initiating actions concordant with this lineage.
이가와 공부디 롱의 차들 공부를 제대로 진행하면 대신 지식다 이 잔주성도 나오기.
And explaining how hard it is to find this situation for developing bodhicitta. Just like a blind man discovering a jewel in a heap of rubbish, likewise by some coincidence, this mind of enlightenment has been born within me.
다 잔주성 기부터 다지 아니 저를 주기 아니 치다기 두는 정도의 무거워서 디삼비 토는 스티지 교야를 샤스가.
And also thinking of the qualities and the benefits of bodhicitta, like, for example, being able to destroy the lot of death of the 6 realms of existence. Let's think about it like that. So in relation to verse 29. This is also the supreme ambrosia that overcomes a lot of death of migrating beings. This is also the inexhaustible treasure that eliminates all poverty of migrating beings. Sorry, I apologize for the people at home. I forgot to share it, but there it is. So verse 30 says, this is the supreme medicine that quells the diseases of migrating beings too. It is the tree of rest for migrating beings, wandering and weary on the path of conditioned existence. It is the universal platform that leads all migrating beings to freedom from the bad migrations. It is the dawning moon of the mind that dispels the torment of afflictions of migrating beings. It is the great sun that annihilates the cataracts of ignorance of migrating beings. It is the quintessential butter from churning the milk of the holy Dharma. And particularly this verse that emphasizes the ability to accomplish all happiness, to lead and set all sentient beings in the state of liberation, in the state of enlightenment. The mind of enlightenment has the potential to do that, has the ability to do that. So it's really important to place your mind upon appreciating the quality of the mind of enlightenment that has the ability to provide all living beings with all sorts of happiness and well-being. For all those guests who are migrating beings journeying on the path of cyclic existence, who wish to utilize the resources of happiness, this will place the great travelers of sentient beings in supreme happiness and satisfy them. We also encourage others to develop joy in their mind, or us having developed bodhicitta. Today, in the presence of all the protectors, I invite the migrating beings to be guests in happiness until they attain the state of Siddhartha. May gods, anti-gods, and all folk be joyful. Since we have taken upon ourselves bodhicitta today, it's really important that we don't just leave it as it is, but it's important that we consider thinking about bodhicitta every day. Not only it's important to do that, we have the ability to do that. We have the ability to do that because we have gained a precious human body with freedoms and opportunities. So we have the ability to daily still continue to engender bodhicitta, to think of bodhicitta, to nourish bodhicitta. If we neglect to do it, well, we just neglect to do it. It's not that we cannot do it, we still can do it. So it's important to make sure that we do take the time to engender bodhicitta.
가정한 나를 나는 다 지전에 잘 마시 세야 바카오라스 인간 주기 아니 뭐컴바 세디 뭐컴바 나 피츠미 나 콩구미 세디 소소소 세샤오지 마도비 만주의 취지하기 아니 타와기에든 조치 찬성 상대 여와치 다 마컴나 아니 뭐컴바 고바치 아니 소소 세샤기 소리 차게도스티 this seven susu 경로스티 this 상당고다스라.
As it happens during the Friday morning teachings, as we're looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's milling presentation of the states of the path of enlightenment, we are now covering the section that explains the precious human rebirth, this precious human body that has 8 states of freedom and 10 endowments. And these 8 states of freedoms, as Lama Tsongkhapa explains, are freedom from states in which we would otherwise have no freedom to practice the Dhamma. So we do have them. We do recognize that we have those states of freedom. We sometimes think that I don't have that freedom, I don't have leisure because I have so many things to do. I have jobs and I have tasks, so that I can't find the time to practice the Dhamma. And it almost, it is our own creation. We create this pattern of thinking as if we don't have the ability to do that because we don't have the time to do it. But this is our own mental creation. It's our own mental story. And we believe that story. But then when you look at Lama Tsongkhapa's presentation, this state of mind in which we think that I don't have the time to do it, I have too many other things that I need to do, I don't have the time to study and practice the Dhamma, is not listed as a 9th state of not having freedom. No, it's not found amongst those states of lacking freedom. So we do have the leisures, we do have the freedom, the 8 states of freedom. So it's important that we recognize that and try to make the most out of it.
야시기하다 말이지. 이제 이 기회처럼 되는 아니 실드 산디 때문에 지금 잡을린데야 아니 유 내봐이마 안 숨진 비기리에 근도요 야시기하다 말이죠. 아니 산지 때문에 지금 잡을린데야 아니 유르무 내야 좀 기회처럼 될 때니 내가 쇼 놓은 자고야 아니 때문에 딘진 비기다 딘진 또 아니 야오로 치 되비 and to use much with that. And Lama Namade, how then the Lama touch, children de any cutting TV, and Lama Sovereignty, and could see Jim Shuyaki, and Tumenarachis.
So we have spent some time together in going through the ritual for the mind of enlightenment. So this is the time at the end to delight in being able to do that. And in delighting in dedicating the virtue that we have created together in so doing, we can first off think that by the virtue that all of us have created, may that allow the teachings of the Buddha to remain for a very long time. As those teachings provide sentient beings with happiness and well-being, may the teachings of the Buddha remain for a long time. But also, may those beings that are holders of the teachings of the Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, as well as teachers from all across traditions, all the Lamas from different traditions, and particularly the spiritual director of this organization, Kyabje Lama Sovereign, that is so kind to us in so many different ways. May all these beings also enjoy a long and healthy life.
Is that very romantic stronger that stuff tuning on the longer the conscious chair was and the longer the means to tiny trust that we can dig Thomas, Kavas Kiomaras, the and on the longer the layer. That's it. I mean, Lama rods and the Guru rods and the Pili chicken and the two ganking it and it mark is a and to chase the rock.
Today is Captain Lama Sophorn's birthday, but also today we have opened a new cemented road. So the road was done for the people at home that are unable to be here today. The road is fantastic. So Geshe thought that it's good also to name the road. Right? So even if we're not going to remember that, then Geshe, even if we don't want to think about it like that, Geshe is calling that road the Lama roads, the Guru road, the Lama road or the Guru road. So one of the people that were responsible for coordinating everything and running things behind the scene is Mark. So thank you very much, Mark, for the great effort. Yeah, yeah. That's the Chinrazi Guru road. Yeah. All right. So we are finished. So let's do some dedications. I'll put the prayers on the screen. Let's do the recitations in English. Due to this virtue, I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious Supreme Bodhichitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. In this land encircled by snowing mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig cleansing Gyata, please remain until samsara ends. You uphold the Sibu's moral way, who says the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels. Protector of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. So some people want to make offering. Yeah, if you have any kathas offering that you want to make, please do.
So also, some people wanted to make offerings for the Llamas over Ricochet, which you can make over on the throne.
Are we going to do it now or afternoon?
Oh, I don't know. Is it this afternoon?
I think this afternoon.
Okay. This afternoon. And this big one.
So meditation, it's so beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Geshe.
How are you, Michelle? That's a special day. Great thing.
Oh, what am I doing here? Thank you very much.
It's 1:30.
You're okay. Okay. I was actually, I saw sitting over there. Oh, but nice to see you. Very nice to see you. So you did well? Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yes, good vibes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, also the Tsultrim is sugar.
When I said, you think it was an odd question?
No, I was just kind of wondering where it come from.
Well, it was one of the last
Yeah, yeah.
questions to do with mind awareness.
Yeah.
No, there was just like possibly a question that
Yeah.
was like
No, I
possibilities
thought-
for ever.
Yeah, I thought I remember then that we did have Tom and I were also going through these questions, which I found really good. You know, some of them were a bit repetitive, but
Yeah.
still I found them like immensely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because there was that kind of long line of questions about, you know, the inference. Yeah, and like the realizations of them really what they be. Yeah.
So, you know, kind of I was just interesting. Exactly. This question came out of what about this trying to figure out what concept, I mean, we know what concept is.
Yeah.
And then just what it's
Yeah. Oh, it's mental. Conceptual. But yeah, I can't. Thank you.